As you mentioned, Sheila, I'm a professional coach and trainer. I've been doing that for over 20 years in 12 countries, as you mentioned. But today I wanted to talk about the story of my daughter Belle and how she has overcome a combination of circumstances in her life which made it very challenging, and translated that challenge into something that's become a message that's important for a lot of, not just young people, but for all of us. So that's why I'm very happy to be here today.
I'm enough, and you're enough. Welcome to another inspiring episode of Podcast with SHEILA, the podcast that is spreading positivity around the world by sharing inspiring life experiences. Today's guest, Belle Anthony, is an author, speaker, and master in professional communication. He runs workshops for thousands of people in 12 countries over 20 years and also consults for Fortune 500 companies. In this episode, Belle will be sharing daughter Belle's life experiences with us, and if there is time, we'll talk a little bit about his life as well. Hello, Belle, and welcome to Podcast with SHEILA.
G'day, Sheila, and g'day from Sydney, Australia.
Great. So, in brief, who is Belle? Where does he come from? Basic stuff like that, just so that our audience get to know who our guest is for today.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Sheila, I'm a professional coach and trainer. I've been doing that for over 20 years in 12 countries, as you mentioned. But today I wanted to talk about the story of my daughter Belle and how she has overcome a combination of circumstances in her life which made it very challenging, and translated that challenge into something that's become a message that's important for a lot of, not just young people, but for all of us. So that's why I'm very happy to be here today.
Great. So let's not wait too much time. Let's get right into the story. Let's take it from how everything started and what the experience was like for you as a parent.
Belle was, she was 16 at the time, which was 4 years ago. And her mother and I were divorced. She was living with her mother, and she had a series of circumstances happen in her life. She had I'll just call it a very tragic incident with a boy when she was quite young. That affected her quite seriously, quite tragically. She stopped going to school. She began smoking a lot of cigarettes, having a group of friends which wasn't exactly supportive of her and her self-esteem. And one evening she rang me. I was just walking along the beach side at Manly, where I live, and she rang me and she said, "Dad, can I come and live with you?" I said, "Why?" And she's like, "I can't tell you, but can I come and live with you?" And I said, "Absolutely." And I said, "When?" And she said, "Tomorrow." I thought, okay. So the following morning, Belle arrived on my doorstep, and she looked very unhealthy. She was distressed. She basically stopped going to school. Her life was in a huge hole, in every respect. She had low self-esteem. She had body image issues. She had some destructive friendships. She wasn't getting out of bed in the morning. She wasn't eating properly. Pretty much all of the bad habits or bad issues that a young person can face, she was confronting. And initially I thought, Sheila, well, the antidote to this is lots of love. I'll just love her a lot, and that love will set her free or help her on a journey. But that wasn't enough. That wasn't what she needed. It was part of what she needed, but not the whole of what she needed. So we began doing two things. We began taking small steps. Like, small steps was like getting out of bed in the morning. It was like eating. It was like seeing daylight. It was walking. It was getting up and getting some exercise, like some really basic fundamental things in her life. And we kept taking those very small steps, but she wasn't happy with the progress she was making, and nor was I, to be quite frank, as her father. And then one night, after she'd lived with me for maybe 4 or 5 months, we'd had dinner, because we were just living together alone, just her and I, in my place. And I just said to her, I said, look, no matter what happens or how you're feeling or what's happening in your life, remember, you're enough. Like you're enough, you're strong enough, you're beautiful enough, you're smart enough to deal with this. Just keep that in mind. And that became like a mantra for us, like you're enough. It became like almost a joke between us. And that idea of being enough, in addition to these small steps, began to help her on a journey. And that was like basically the beginning of the story, if you like, SHEILA.
Wow, this is a very inspiring story I'm hearing, Peter, and I think she's a very strong girl as well, for her to even come to the point of knowing she needed help, and the best thing to do was to go back home. Because for some people, they may not even see their situation as a problem, let alone start looking for help. So I think that was the biggest step for her to have come back to you as a parent for that. How did it feel? I know that there'll be loads of emotions going on when you saw her, but what was it like when you saw her come through the door, especially to you?
It was
asking for help.
Back to me. Back to me. It was a combination of gratitude and fear, because I thought, I have no idea what to do with this. I mean, I clearly loved her, and I support what you were just suggesting to SHEILA, that if you are in trouble or you are struggling or facing some big issues, it's really important to get with someone that you can trust. Ideally, that's one of your parents or someone close in your family that has the DNA, if you like, to know how to love you, because it's a family love, or a parent's love, or a close family's love is different than anything anyone else can offer you. So it was a combination of gratitude in a way, but also a lot of fear and foreboding, because I had no idea what to do. I had no idea. I've got no training in child psychology or in parenting, apart from being a parent. You become a parent with no training manual attached to it. I didn't really understand how she was feeling, because I'd never been a young woman, so I didn't understand how that felt. I knew it was tragic and it was really shattering for her, but I didn't know how that felt. I don't think anyone truly knows how anyone else really feels. It was a combination of those things jumbled together, and I was, like many males, we go straight to the solution. And often it's better not to go straight to a solution. It's better just to stay in the problem, if you like, to stay with it and be present and just care. And that was the beginning.
I'm glad you're sharing this, because like you said, parenting is something you get to learn as you go along, and especially you learn from we learn from other parents who have been there and the things they've had to go through. I hear a lot about children in their teenage ages, and sometimes I worry. I wouldn't say worry, but I'm just thinking. I think a lot. What would it feel like when my children get to that age? And because I hear stories a lot, and you have to go through every journey with them. So I'm happy we are sharing this today for parents like myself, who has not yet experienced anything like that. At least we get the opportunity to learn some of the things most of you had done when you got there. So my next question is, what advice, parenting advice, or words of encouragement can we give to parents going through similar situations with their children and don't know how to manage it?
I think it's a combination of a couple of things. I think it is it's more about them than about you. I think often parents think that, well, I've got this blueprint they need to follow, and if they follow that blueprint, it will work. In our case, I didn't have a blueprint, and like most parents dealing with a situation like this, and I think too, Sheila, it's particularly challenging for young women. I think it's more challenging for young women than young men. Life's more complicated, and a lot of issues can affect young women emotionally as well as physically. So the advice I would give is how Belle and I's journey developed. We took this idea of being enough from being a joke between us to being like the substance that helped her through her recovery over a couple of years. She was in what we call Year 11 in Australia, which is the year before high school finishes, or you get graduated from high school. She decided to take this idea of being enough because it was working for her, and to use that as a school project to start a business, like a business that was promoting this idea that you're enough. And she said, Dad, why don't we just promote this idea with t-shirts? And I thought, well, who's going to buy a t-shirt with NUFF on it? And not even you're enough, it's just NUFF. Who's going to buy that? She said, Dad, trust me. So I invested in this. She designed a very simple range of t-shirts for young women just with NUFF on them, NUFF. And I thought, who's going to buy these? And sure enough, we bought them. I posted something on Facebook, and I just watched my Facebook just click over as people were buying these shirts. And initially I thought it would be young women buying them to help them remember that they're enough. But in fact, it was parents.
Oh, wow.
It was they were buying them for their children. And a lot of adults were buying them and buying into this idea, if you like. And what we found was that it was really a way of just starting that conversation to say, like, if I've got somebody in my life that may be suffering with big esteem, which may be very understandable in the circumstances, just to remind them that they're enough, or just to start that conversation. And what Belle has found is that she's basically started a movement here in Australia. It's beginning to take root to now in the US as well, of people just wanting to have that conversation about, are you feeling enough? Not more than enough, not like a big ego build, and not less than enough, but you're just enough. And that's all the message Belle has to people, whether this is parents or children that are wondering that and are doubting whether they're enough, that they are enough, they're big enough, they're bright enough, they're strong enough to deal with what's in front of them. And what I found with Belle in Belle's journey is when she began believing that she was enough, that's when the real change happened, or began happening for her. Because up until then, she thought she wasn't enough. She thought she was just hardly even worth living.
Wow. I'm so inspired by this story, Peter, and I'm touched by what Belle was able to do with her story, because she had gone through enough as a young lady and then turned it around into a business of spreading positivity through garments. And this is actually touching people and making them know that if Belle went through it and was able to spin it around into a positive story, that they can also do it. Just from that point alone, I'm excited for us to be sharing this, because there's so much going on in the world today, even with adult life. There's a lot going on with people. Yeah, and I'm excited about this positive news we are putting out towards the end of the year. So whatever anybody is battling with, or whatever they've battled with from the beginning of the year and thought, oh, till date I've not gotten an answer to it, at least they'll get to know that people went through similar stories and they were able to spin it around to something positive. It all depends on the person going through the situation and what they can do with it.
Exactly. And I think, Sheila, we all feel that from time to time, if we're honest with each other, honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
We often feel like we're not enough. And there's a lot of images and messages in the world to say we're not enough.
Yeah.
Like there's There's political issues, there's economic issues, there's family issues. There's a lot of social media to make us compare us to people that are bigger, brighter, more beautiful, more successful, better looking than us, and it's a crucial message. I think, particularly for young women. It seems to affect young women more than it does young men, and there's an epidemic now, as you would no doubt know, globally, like with more anxiety, more depression, more sadness, more introversion, particularly since COVID. COVID's like almost accelerated this because it's made us more socially isolated, more fearful, more scared of even touching people or be close to people. And we all know human contact is a very important part of living a successful, happy life. So what Belle's found is that if we only just have that conversation with people and just start that conversation, and that's the genius in the message, if you like. It's just starting the conversation around how you're feeling about yourself. Are you feeling like you're enough to deal with what's happening in your life? Because often the people that are struggling the most, like she was, they tend to socially isolate, and they don't reach out to people for support and have those conversations and build those relationships that they need to help their recovery.
The thing is, I think that we as human beings tend to judge people too quickly, and sometimes the ones judging might be going through serious problems than the person telling the story. I don't know if I'm making sense, but that we are too quick to judge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And often what people will do is, if they don't feel like they're enough, they'll push you down too. They'll push you down to a level below where that they're feeling, which is pretty low, so they feel a bit better. They feel better than you because they push you down. And part of what Belle found was that you become who you hang around, and part of what happened in her journey to recovery was changing the people that she was spending time with.
Exactly.
Because it's definitely contagious. Habits are contagious. Lifestyles are contagious. Ways of eating and drinking are all contagious. And that was part of her journey too. It was almost a complete revolution in her life. And it was important that it was her doing it, not me. I wasn't, because it was me telling her what to do and she did it. That's not giving her any power. That's just making a command and control relationship, which doesn't work. It's like, as parents, we create the environment for the children to flourish. And flourish their own way. She's her own individual. She's very different than me, which is fantastic. I don't want a replicant of me as a daughter. I want her to grow into the woman that she wants to be. That's her.
And that's unique, when you allow the children to follow their own path. I remember myself when I'd come out of the uni and I never wanted to work for anybody. I always wanted to work for myself, but my mom said that would take long for you to get established. So she would take me from office to office because she knew people on the board of organizations, and she wants to sit with me through the interview, And I wanted to grow on my own. I wanted it out of the way. Let me go look for the job if that's what you want. Let me do my own interviews. Don't really be a voice in it. Let them assess me as I am and take me on. Things like that. Let me make my own mistakes and then correct them. Just be on the side. But let me make them myself. From there, and trust me, it was difficult to get to the point where she will have to step back for me to do it. But I love the woman I've become. I made a lot of mistakes. I went through a lot. But I love the strong woman I have become. And I feel I would not have been able to be this kind of woman if I didn't go through the things I went through. So sometimes sometimes I always say on this platform, we should just appreciate our struggles and our experiences in life, because they shape us in a way that nothing else will be able to if we had not gone through them.
Exactly. And it's just like a way parents love it. parents have a blueprint of what they think works, which is what worked for them.
Yeah.
But we are all unique individuals, and our children are unique individuals, and they need to do their own growing, if you like, and keep inside, develop who they are. I love this saying I read from Carl Jung many years ago when I was studying psychology, and he said there's an inner hero in each of us that's beckoning us on a call to adventure. Like there's a beckoning inside that only we can hear. Like only you can hear you, only I can hear me, and only I know when I'm happy and when I'm doing what I love, and that's what's going to make me happy. And in Belle's case, make her happy, and also help her understand what unique contribution she's going to make in the world. That's for her to discover. I can't discover it for her. It's a bit like going to the gym and getting someone else to do push-ups for you. You've got to do your own push-ups. You can't have somebody else doing them for you. Not when you're a teenager anyway. You've got to learn to do it yourself and feel like you're enough to do that, whatever life requires you to do.
Exactly. Wow. If you had a short phrase or mantra to leave with us today, what would that be?
Oh, that's an easy one, Sheila. You're enough, you're big enough, you're strong enough, you're beautiful enough to deal with whatever life dishes up to you. And when you do realise that, and you realise you're enough and life unfolds before you, that's when you're happiest, that's when you're the biggest manifestation of yourself, and that's when you're going to make the unique contribution only you can make to the world around you.
Beautiful. If you have a Facebook page or a shop link or anything for Belle's garments, would you like to put it out now?
It's easy. It's youreenough.com. That's YOURANUFF. You're enough. We've had some grammar Nazis attack us about that because it's not you are enough. But Belle likes that enough, NUFF. It's nice and simple, just like this approach is. So it's youreenough, all one word, .com. That's where her store is. Also Instagram and Facebook, which is also You're Enough. And there's lots of photos on there of customers of Belle, primarily women, mums. I must be honest, there's probably 80% that are mums that have embraced this. They do it for themselves because mums have a huge challenge in their life raising their children, and for their kids too. So you'll see lots of Belle's customers there. You'll see Belle, you'll meet her. She's on the front page of the store.
I'd like to say that a massive thank you for coming on Podcast with Sheila today. I think that Belle has a lovely dad to do this for her today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and somebody will be wondering why.
Thank you, Sheila.
Yeah, somebody will be wondering why Belle wasn't able to do it today is because she's in school. So if you visit her pages, I believe you'll be able to see her. You can link up with her personally and then take it up from there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly. But I would like to say, like I said, a massive thank you.
She'd love to hear from you. She even now, she writes like handwritten notes to everyone that buys a shirt. Wow. So she insists on that. She also has some social anxiety, so she wouldn't necessarily be the sort of person that would speak on a podcast, for example. She's very shy, and she's still a bit socially anxious, particularly around new people, which is fair enough. So you probably wouldn't see her on a podcast.
Okay.
But you'll definitely see her on the website. You'll see her there, a big smiling face in the middle of the page. And I obviously love her to death, and I'm so proud of what she's achieved.
Great. If you've been listening in, this is season 2, episode 7 of our podcast series, where we bring seasoned guests with inspiring real life stories to share with us. Do not miss out on all these lovely experiences. Subscribe and be notified when a new episode is released. Whilst at it, please drop us a rating. We have a video presentation of this episode on our YouTube channel. Just search for Podcast with Sheila on YouTube and you'd find us. Our prayer for you this week is that you remember that you are a limited edition, one of a kind. Until we meet again, have a brilliant week.